It's still the same day. Thursday the 14th of March, 15:55. I don't know what, 15:55 hours? 3:55 or 5 to 4 p.m. 2019. I'm quite busy today. Despite telling someone I would try to do nothing after having 7 weeks of unusual stress. Maybe we'll try and stretch this to 10 minutes. Yeah, I'm not sure about publishing video journals of my personal activities. Yeah, stick to a reading for now. 1 Corinthians 6, questions regarding marriage, followed by 1 Corinthians 13, the more excellent way, which is shorter, so we'll read that last. I've been reading Timothy, reading ahead of the group. So I'm doing 1 chapter a week at this point, which is fine. I mean, you're able to examine it thoroughly. It's quite lean or short. I'm not sure I'll be attending this week. I have to go to Fremantle instead. Or should, to make some connections. It's the director of the Workers' Club. So, a fairly important person in the town. Among other things, need to have a look at the place. They teach swing dancing there. Yeah. Which I need to learn. And need to learn how to teach eventually. Assuming I can dance well enough. And I do need a full-time partner, basically. As in, someone you can take every week. Anyway, which is relevant to this. Questions regarding marriage. What's the actual title of it? You know it. You're a fucking Christmaser. First letter of Paul to the Corinthians. Now concerning the matters about which you wrote. This is actually chapter 7. It is well for a man not to touch a woman, but because of the temptation. Oh, sorry, this is the Revised Standard Version. My god, this is out of order. When it published. Skipped it to me. Fuck off with the messages. Should mute them. Or you could just disconnect it from the net. Translated from original languages being the version set forth AD 1611. Revised AD 1881, 1895, and 1901, compared with the most Asian authorities and revised 46 and 52. Second edition of the New Testament AD 1971, British and Foreign Bible Society. Printed 20 skin impression 1975. Initially published 1967 in this format or whatever. And it's got lots of pictures in it, which is really nice. Keeps me entertained. Maybe I could colour them in at one point. I'm sure that would happen if you had children around. Maybe that's a bad thought. Not to touch a woman, but because of the temptation to immorality, each man should have his own wife, and each woman her own husband. The husband should give to his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not rule over her own body, but the husband does. This is better. It's easy to read. Do not refuse one another, except perhaps by agreement for a season. So is that 3 months? It's like no fap. That's pretty serious. That you may devote yourself to prayer, but then come again together, lest Satan tempt you through lack of self-control. I don't know what that means. I suppose that means practice fidelity, but also a healthy time to distance at times. Sometimes. Yeah, like I've heard some people just have a bad year in marriage. Not like bad, but it could just be like boring or difficult, you're just getting through a bunch of shit. An illness or a difficult, an ill child, financial difficulties or some tragedy, injury, a move, family, whatever. I'm preheating the oven for the bread, but we'll see about that later. I say this by way of concession, not of command. I wish that all were as I myself am, so I suppose he's celibate. But each has his own special gift from God, one of one kind and one of another. To the unmarried and the widows, I say that it is well for them to remain single as I do. But I suppose the context here is different, but yeah. But if they can, which is relevant later. But if they cannot exercise self-control, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to be aflame with passion. It's probably good, relevant to me. Although I don't engage in that sort of stuff, being unmarried. I don't know what he's referring to. Anyway, it's good to direct that energy to something. Probably. To the married I give charge, not I but the Lord, that the wife should not separate from her husband. But if she does, let her remain single or else be reconciled to her husband, and that the husband should not divorce his wife. To the rest I say, not the Lord, that if any brother has a wife who is an unbeliever, this section's, I suppose, interesting or important, who is an unbeliever and she consents to live with him, he should not divorce her. If any woman has a husband who is an unbeliever and she consents to live with her, she should not divorce him. For the unbelieving husband is consecrated through his wife, and the unbelieving wife is consecrated through her husband. Otherwise your children would be unclean. But as it is, they are holy. But if the unbelieving partner desires to separate, let it be so. In such a case, the brother or sister is not bound, for God has called us. That's marked. Has called you in other translations. Ancient editions. To peace. Wife, how do you know whether you will save your husband? Husband, how do you know whether you will save your wife? Only let every one lead his life which the Lord has assigned to him and in which God has called him. This is my rule in all the churches. When it was in this section's messed up a little bit. It's just confusing. Jewish. This is my rule in all the churches. Was anyone at the time of his call already circumcised? Let him not seek to remove the marks of circumcision. That doesn't make sense. Was anyone at the time of his call uncircumcised? Let him not seek circumcision. It's a good idea. Don't do that ever to anyone. It's not even a medical reason, really. It's like far back on the path with the transgender stuff. It's genital mutilation. It's awful stuff. For neither circumcision counts for anything nor uncircumcision, but keeping the commandments of God. Everyone should remain in the state in which he was called. Were you a slave when you called? Never mind. But if you can gain your freedom, avail yourself of the opportunity marked, or make use of your present condition instead. For he who was called in the Lord as a slave is a freedman of the Lord. Likewise, he who was free when called is a slave of Christ. You were bought with a price. Do not become slaves of men. So, brethren, in whatever state each was called, they let him remain with God. Oh, yeah, I should just put it on airplane mode or whatever, turn off the internet. Now concerning the unmarried, marked as in Greek virgins. I have no command of the Lord, but I give my opinion as one who by the Lord's mercy is trustworthy. I think that in view of the present, marked as impending distress, it is well for a person to remain as he is. Are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be free. Are you free from a wife? Do not seek marriage. But if you marry, you do not sin. And if a girl, marked Greek virgin, marries, she does not sin. Yet those who marry will have worldly troubles, and I would spare you that. I suppose that's true. You also have some advantages. Some things are easier or more efficient, which is better. I mean, brethren, the appointed time is grown very short. From now on, let those who have wives live as though they had none, and those who mourn as though they were not mourning, and those who rejoice as though they were not rejoicing. Those who buy as though they had no goods, and those who deal with the world as though they had no dealings with it. For the forms of this world is passing away. I suppose he's referencing, things are transient in a general sense and a specific sense of each life and each moment or unit of time. I want you to be free from anxieties. The unmarried man is anxious about the affairs of the Lord. This is a pertinent part. How to please the Lord. But the married man is anxious about worldly affairs, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. And the unmarried woman, technically, he'd still be serving the same good cause, but just actually paying attention to biology, the reality of our animal existence. And the unmarried woman or girl, marked in Greek as virgin, is anxious about the affairs of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit, but the married woman is anxious about worldly affairs, how to please her husband. I say this for your own benefit, not to lay any restraint upon you, but to promote good order and secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. If anyone thinks that he is not behaving properly towards his betrothed, marked in Greek as virgin, which is pretty cool. That's good. Good choice if they're available, which they still are. If his passions are strong, they're rare, and they're literally hidden, well protected. Yeah. If his passions are strong, and it has to be, let him do as he wishes, let them marry, it is no sin, but with whoever is firmly established in his heart, being under no necessity but having his desire under control, and has determined this in his heart, to keep her as his betrothed, marked in Greek as virgin, he will do well, so that he who marries his betrothed, marked again, Greek, virgin, does well, and he who refrains from marriage will do better. I suppose they're referencing the priesthood. I don't know. Monkhood. It's not a bad idea for some, or for some times in your life. They call it monk mode nowadays. Which actually is quite sensible. At some points in life, like myself, I shouldn't be dating, as they call it, courting, spending time alone with women to find out if they're worth a marriage, or whether I'm worth, or whether we're compatible. There's some, until you have some basic stability or support, or I suppose just either maturity or whatever is necessary. Yeah. It's been almost 15 minutes, this one. A wife is bound to her husband as long as he lives. If the husband dies, she is free to be married to whom she wishes, only the Lord. But in my judgment, she is happier if she remains as she is, and I think that I have the Spirit of God. We might do the excellent way in 2 minutes. Oh, it's tiny. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, this is 1 Corinthians 13. If I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I have delivered my body to be burned, marked, body that I may glory, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Funny thing is, love is a verb. So the definitions are, by Molyneux, our involuntary response to virtue when we're virtuous, which is a pretty good definition. It's a response or an act or a recognition of quality. And has to be mutual, really. Like you can love an object, but not really. It's not an exchange. But anyway. Patient and kind, jealous, and blah blah blah. Endures all things. Love never ends. As for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. Actually, another definition that I thought of a few years ago was love as being accepting truth, the acceptance of truth. Which is technically true, but I think it's kind of vague. It's not Yeah, probably not. Not functional. Anyway, for our knowledge is most of which imperfect, and our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. This is a well-known passage, I think, or part. I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways, for now we see in mirror dimly, then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. So faith, hope, love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love. And that's all. I need an SD card. Probably 32 gigs would be heaps. Anyway, I'll see you later.